So what I'm going to start this off by doing is dismissing the welcome message, and I'm demonstrating this in 11.1.7 today. There we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the contents of this data module. They're gone. Okay, we can all agree that I just blasted that out of existence. I'm going to go ahead and save it. This data module is called demo target. Okay, for some reason that switcher is a little bugged out here, but I saved this data module, so there's nothing in it. We can all agree on that. This is a totally empty data module with no content. So I feel like this is a magic trick when I'm demoing this. Like, I'm going to pull the rabbit out of the hat. But we all agree that's a blank data module. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use that as a target for the conversion utility that I'm about to run. So let's take a look at that conversion utility. Now, the way this functions, to give you some insight into it, is we actually developed kind of a scripting language that describes BI metadata models. So it contains information about tables, joins, filters, calculations, dimensionality, all of that sort of stuff. And then what we're able to do is we're able to do a conversion from Framework Manager into that scripting language, and then from that scripting language into a data module. And we do it automatically by running this software. So in order to kind of see how this works, it's very, it's kind of a developer tool. So it doesn't have a great user interface or anything like that. It's really designed to solve a specific problem. And building this really killer UI, we felt was just kind of out of, it wasn't necessary to give you the core value of what you're going to see today. So I have here a sample Framework Manager model that we can look at. And just to kind of walk you through what's going on here, we have a number of tables. Now, this isn't a huge model, but it has a large number of features. So I wouldn't worry too much about the size of the model. It's really about what is contained in it that we're able to convert. So if I look at this model, what you're going to see is that I have, and actually let me just turn on something here that is going to make this easier to follow me. There we go. Okay, so it should be easier to follow my mouse now. So what you're going to see here is we have a database view, and the database view has a mixture of different types of objects. And we did this in order to kind of show that this utility is able to understand the kind of the classic Framework Manager structure, but it's also able to understand it if you haven't followed the classic Framework Manager structure. Deepu, we're getting some feedback from your end. If you wouldn't mind muting yourself, please. So here in the database layer, I've got these tables that are kind of your traditional tables in Framework Manager. But then I also have, for example, this retailer location table. And the retailer location table, if you look at the diagram, is actually going to be a combination of the tables in this folder, the retailer tables folder. Okay, so what I have here is a query subject in the kind of database view, which classically you're not supposed to do, but of course you can. It'll work fine. And it is a combination of these items which are all joined together. Okay, and then I also have a table here that is created from SQL. So this is a table in the database view, and it's a fairly simple SQL statement, but it's not just a select star. It's got a number of joins in it. So we're grabbing this product information where product type code equals product type code, and the name lookup number, where we have this, and where we join on these, and where the product language is English. So that's what's happening in the database view. And in the business view, again, I have a mixture of query subjects and shortcuts. And this is something that's very common. You know, when I'm working with customers, some customers in the business view will have only query subjects, and some will have only shortcuts, and some will have a mix. And so we have a mixture here of them. We do have also have a couple filter objects that you see here. And then we split this into two packages, package 6A and package 6B. So this features a lot of what you're going to do in Framework Manager models. It doesn't have everything, like what Paul was talking about in the chat. It does not have the, it doesn't have, well, I don't have parameter maps in here. I don't have a DMR in here. And that is because those features simply don't exist in data modules today. So there's nothing to map that to. There are things we can do to kind of help you get the same sort of functionality, but there's no easy button for getting that sort of functionality into a data module. For example, you know, in the a lot of the stuff you do with parameter maps, I think you can do with the query value, with the query value calculation type in data modules, but you know, it's not a one-to-one mapping. But this is the 90% of what I see customers doing is kind of encapsulated in what you see here. The features that they regularly use, the bread and butter features that you regularly use in a framework manager package are included here, and they're split in between two packages. So we've got this model, two packages. Okay. And as you can see, it's not a horribly messy model, but it's not perfectly structured as far as where things are located. You know, if when you took your framework manager training course, however long ago it was, you know, they probably told you not to do some of the stuff that you see here, but I've gone ahead and did it. And it's to prove the point of how this works. And the way this really works is it's able to examine each query subject in the package and work its way itself back through the various layers to determine all of the things that might contribute to creating this query subject. And then it's able to evaluate that and collapse it down into a format that makes sense in a data module. Because data modules are not structured like this. You do not have a database view and a business view and a presentation view. All of that is kind of collapsed down into a single view in a data module. And so our utility will do the same thing. It's going to evaluate the sales target and see where all did it come from and collapse it down into a single table in data modules instead of this cascading set of tables across a number of views. It'll do that for all of these. So the retailer location table is one I like to call out because what this is going to become in the data module, as you'll see, is a single table that we'll see in the data module. It will be a custom table, which is a data module feature. And that is actually a combination of 5 underlying tables that are presented as one to the end user. And we're able to dissect that complexity and translate it into a data module. Okay. So we've walked through the framework manager model. I know it's very exciting to take a look at an FM model with me. But what this is a Node.js application that we run. It runs on a Windows machine. It does not have to be installed alongside Cognos. It doesn't have an agent. It doesn't have a listener. It doesn't do anything like that. What it does is it does the conversion from the framework manager XML to the data module XML, and then it inserts it into the content store with like a SQL update is how it works today. Now, there are some things in the REST API that I think we'll be able to get away from interacting directly with the content store and go through the REST API in the future, but that's how it functions today, okay? And the way it works is that if you look in this, there's a configuration file. So it's located, and it's not important that you know this, but this configuration file that you edit, it looks like this. So what you say to what you provide in is the input and output type. So the input type is framework manager, the output type is data module. In theory, this should work the opposite way, but I will tell you we haven't tried it yet, but it should work the opposite way as well. And then you need to provide it the path to the model XML. So in this case, the model I'm going to be converting is called module 6A. It's a model we use for testing. And then you provide the store ID of the um, data module that you're writing to. So you need to have a blank data module. I mean, it doesn't have to be blank. Whatever's in there, it will overwrite it, but you probably want a blank one so that you're not overwriting something that already exists. And we provide you the content stored query you can use here in order to get this this identifier. Okay. And then here in filtered packages, you provide which specific packages you want to map to this data module. Now, I'm going to do this in a one-to-one way, but you can set this file up so that it will convert, 20 packages at once, or it can convert multiple models at the same time. So you could set it up, for example, if you make a habit of modeling in Framework Manager and then converting to data modules, you could set this file up so that it will automatically convert, all of your models, Framework Manager models, to data modules when you run the conversion utility. But for the sake of today's presentation, I'm just going to be doing a one-to-one. But I'm going to be converting both packages. So this filter packages, if I leave blank, it will convert all packages. Whereas if I were to put in the name of one of these packages, if I were to put package 6A in here, what it would do is it would just convert that package to this source or this target data module. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I mentioned this is a Node application. So you can see I was testing it earlier today. But you come in here into PowerShell and you basically run the command to execute the conversion. And you can see here, it says, okay, right, I've written module 6a.xml to 12507, right? And now, if we go ahead and look in the in here, now one thing to note about this that's kind of curious is that Cognos is caching the data modules in a way that kind of requires you to clear your browser cache or use a private browse in a private window in order to see these changes. So what I'm going to do here is I'll just open a new private window, and we'll go ahead and log into the Cognos environment that we use here at PMsquare. And we're going to take a look at that same data module, the one that I deleted, and see what is going on with it. Okay, so that was demo target. And as I open that up, you can see now we have the end result of those, both of those packages being combined into a single data module. So if I walk through this and I show you how we did this, I think it gets to the heart of the difference between how you build Framework Manager models and data modules. And the way we did this is I mentioned we collapse everything down into a single layer, okay? So something simple like the product type table, which is a query subject that we're just taking as is from Framework Manager into data modules, you just get this one table in data modules, right? It's very straightforward. Now, the retailer location, you recall, is actually a query subject, a model query subject that is a composite of a number of underlying database query subjects, okay? And the way we handle that here is we build the custom table. So this retailer location table is a combination of these three tables that flow into retailer location, and it has an attached table filter on it. So we're able to pick all of that up, collapse it down into this single object. And then what we do is we take these underlying tables, kind of the supporting tables, and we put them into what we call the data source tables folder. So any table that exists, say in the database view or the business view, that does not exist in the presentation view, but is necessary to generate the package, we're going to nest in data source tables. But the thing we're not going to do is we're not going to include in here anything that is not a part of the package. So if you have a giant model that's got 15 or 20 packages in it, and we're converting a package that only, say it's got 500 tables, and this package only needs 20 of those 500 tables, we're not converting all 500 tables into a data module, right? We're only taking the ones that are necessary to produce the presentation view objects that comprise the package that end users are interacting with. That's it. So all the rest of the complexity gets left behind. You can see here a table built up of SQL. So we're able to take the SQL and convert it into data modules. And actually, the SQL syntax between data modules and Framework Manager is just like a hair different. So we're able to do that conversion for you. You can see here the sales table is a composite of two underlying SQL tables. So this isn't, our ability to do this is not restricted to a particular type of query subject, like only things that are sourced a particular way, whether you're hand coding SQL or you're using the wizard to add objects into data modules or into Framework Manager. Whatever you're doing, we're able to decode it and put it in here. And we're able to carry forward objects like these filters or custom calculations or anything like that you have in the underlying Framework Manager model, we can pull and bring into the data module by running this utility script.